we're seeing the mother of all squeezes. It's going to become on the LBMA market. The spot price through the LBMA mechanism is so much higher than the futures. It's dragging the futures price higher because there is no silver in London to be delivered. They've been lying. Bullion banks were basically paper peddlers. And what's going to solve this squeeze in silver? Well, prices. Higher, much higher prices. I don't think it's at 51.20 where we're now. It's going to be a lot higher. It's going to totally discredit the LBMA. Gold and silver are at the heart of controlling or keeping this fiat currency Ponzi scheme alive. And the way they've done it is through the LBMA and the COMEX as well, because the bullion banks that trade on the LBMA, they trade on the COMEX. They do the EFP mechanism. They're just glorified bucket shops. Truth is the daughter of time. And I learned actually that the bullion banks...
If you own gold or silver, stop what you're doing right now. Because what's unfolding behind closed doors in London's bullion markets could shake the entire financial system. Mario Innecco, better known as Innecco 64, is sounding the alarm. He calls it the mother of all squeezes. According to him, the LBMA, the London Bullion Market Association, is out of real metal. Physical silver is drying up. The so-called spot price is now higher than the futures price, a direct sign that real metal is gone while paper contracts flood the system. Gold just smashed through $4,000 an ounce, silver's holding above $50, and the cracks in the paper-based bullion system are now impossible to hide. Even major banks, HSBC, UBS, have raised their silver forecasts for 2025, admitting that tightness in supply is unlike anything they've seen before. Yet most people still think they own gold or silver simply because a digital screen says so. Mario's message is brutally simple. You don't own gold unless you can touch it. And that truth might soon separate the financially free from the financially trapped.
Were basically paper peddlers. I learned that they dealt in paper, not real gold or silver for that matter. And the reason I'm going to talk about that today is because we're seeing the mother of all squeezes. It looks like it's going to become on the LBMA market, London Bullion Market Association, which is basically a world market out of London. It's traded on the foreign exchange market. It's over the counter. It's very thinly regulated. For those of you who haven't really bought gold and silver, I don't think it's too late. Should we be taking profits? That's the other question you see a lot out there. Well, do I think about that? Not really. Not my physical gold and silver. Maybe the precious metals mining stocks one day, or if a company does really well compared to others, get rid of some of it and maybe buy a cheaper one or buy some physical gold and silver. But the question that I've always asked myself these last 20 years, when I get discouraged or when I have doubts about holding on to my gold and silver, there's a few questions I ask myself.
The mother of all squeezes he mentions isn't hype. It's a signal that the LBMA's thin regulation is cracking under real physical demand.
Do you trust the banks? So, no, that ticks a box. Do you trust government? No, that's another box. Do you trust the central banks? No, that's another box. Do you think they're going to keep inflating the currency supply and the credit markets? Tick. So that's the way I look at it. Yes, we will probably see corrections along the way. We might even see a correction that will last several years, like 2011 to 2020, that, or even 2021. It lasted a long time. Do I think that's coming soon? I don't think so. I think right now what we're seeing is, and I don't like to say this time is different, but back in the 2000s, there wasn't any concern prior to the '08 crisis about the monetary system, about central banks. Now it's completely different. I mean, you just have to look at the debt all around the world. I think it's up to like 330 trillion world debt. The US government here, the public debt is quickly approaching 38 trillion. We're at 37.6 trillion. In the UK, it's not any better. It's not any better even in China. It's not any better in France. It's not any better in Germany, which is a shame because they used to be quite prudent with their debt, but in the last few years, that's gone out the window. I guess the only country that doesn't have that big of a national debt, ironically, is Russia. I think they're like at, I can have a look here. Russia, 21.4% debt to GDP. I mean, that's really low. I still think that's bad, but compared to the US, where we are, I think right now at 124%, and that's the whole debt is not just the debt held by the public. Debt held by the public is a bit lower. It's around 100%, but debt is debt. So, yeah, ask yourself those questions and then decide whether you want to get rid of your gold and silver. Of course, you might need it for an emergency. Let's talk about the bullion banks now. And when I really learned, when it was confirmed to me what Bill Murphy and Chris Powell and others, but Bill Murphy and Chris Powell especially from gata.org, GATA.org. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description. I've had Bill Murphy on before. It's the Gold Antitrust Action Committee. They're the ones who opened my eyes in the early 2000s when I started buying gold, and I could see that the markets looked suspect. Why? How did I see that? Well, because I watch the markets, financial markets, bond markets every day. That was my job. I worked as a futures and options broker in the bond market. And when I bought gold in '02, I started following gold and I could see some patterns that didn't make sense. Things happening always at the same time. So the Gold Antitrust Action Committee was organized in the fall of 1998 to expose, oppose, and litigate against collusion to control the price and supply of gold and related financial instruments. The committee arose from essays by Bill Murphy, a financial commentator on the internet, and Chris Powell, a newspaper editor in Connecticut.
Every market has patterns.
So I won't go any further. You can read this yourself if you go into their website, but suffice it to say, they opened my eyes to this. And then a year or two later, my mother, she had some money that she wanted me to look after because my father had passed away and my mom didn't know much about money, still doesn't, I would say. But we opened an account at Citibank, and I'm going to tell you the name of the bank, Citibank, in Switzerland. And I decided to buy gold. And I called the private banker, the lady, and I didn't know whether they could do it. And she said, "Oh, yes, of course, we can buy gold for you." So I called her later, like the next week. And I think she was surprised because I said I want to buy gold. And then she got a hold of her dealer. It was probably in London because I could hear her talking in English to the guy.
For decades, Mario says, the bullion banks have acted like paper peddlers. selling synthetic gold and silver that never truly existed. Through the LBMA in London and COMEX in New York, they created an illusion of liquidity using the EFP mechanism, a loophole that lets banks swap paper contracts across borders while avoiding physical delivery. But now that illusion is cracking. The spot market is screaming for metal. Vault inventories in London are down more than 25% since 2021, and the paper markets are being dragged higher by real-world scarcity. Mario connects it all to something bigger, the global debt spiral. He reminds us, you can't keep a fiat system alive without controlling gold and silver. Today, total global debt sits near $330 trillion. The U.S. alone pays almost $1 trillion per year in interest, and confidence is evaporating. Governments print to survive, central banks inflate to delay collapse, and when trust becomes the only collateral, gold and silver turn from commodities into monetary lifeboats. Then comes Mario's personal revelation, a story that exposes how deep the deception goes. Years ago, he bought gold through Citibank Switzerland for his mother. When he asked to withdraw it, the bank refused. They told him he didn't own real gold, only FX gold, a paper exposure linked to the currency markets. That's when he realized, even in Switzerland, the heart of global banking, gold ownership was a digital illusion. If I bought euros, he asked, could I take them out? They had no answer, because there wasn't any gold to take. That experience changed everything for him, and it's the same deception now being exposed in London and New York. As Mario says, truth is the daughter of time, and time is running out.
And I thought it was weird because the guy probably told her, the dealer, oh, they probably want to buy, right? And she said that, oh, you want to buy? As if it was a really silly thing. So I bought the gold thinking, yeah, we've got gold. That's good. And I think the price at the time was around $320, $25. It was very much near the lows. And then after about 6 or 9 months, the price was approaching 400. And I wanted to take delivery of the gold to keep it at my mom's place in Switzerland. I had read about GATA. I had read about how to own gold, you really need the physical. So I called the bank. I called Citibank in Zurich, and the lady there said, "Well, I need to check." And then they came back to me and said, "Oh, we can't do that." And I said, "Why not?" They were really not happy with that. And they actually arranged a meeting, Citibank private bank in London, for me to go there to talk to them. That's how worried I think they were. And the meeting was very interesting. I got in a meeting with these two guys, and they explained to me that I actually didn't buy gold. It was FX gold, whatever that was, right?
When a private bank panics over a client asking for delivery, you know there's something deeper at stake.
And then I said, well, what if I had bought euros, FX, a foreign exchange transaction, and I had euros in my account? Wouldn't I be allowed to take the euros out? And they couldn't answer that question, right? And then I kept arguing with the guy and saying, this is gold. And then at one point he said, so why do you want the gold anyway? And I just said to him, well, because it's mine. Well, my mother's gold, of course. I had a power of attorney, but I said it's because it's my gold. But that didn't work out. And so I learned that Citibank was a paper peddler. That's what they are. And the reason I'm giving you this story is because Mr. Jensen, David Jensen, he warned the world through my channel and others back in January this year. And he said, London silver market verges on silver delivery default. And he was right. That's what we've got right now. That's why the spot price through the LBMA mechanism is so much higher than the futures. It's dragging the futures price higher because there is no silver in London to be delivered. They've been lying about what they really trade. Yes, there are people out there, and I'm not going to name them, but you probably know who I'm talking about, is someone that has artificial hair. He said a few years ago, oh, there's like a Niagara Falls of silver out there. There's so much silver. The silver squeeze will never happen, right? Well, all these people who try to discredit those of us who've been trying to warn about this fraudulent nature of the bullion banks and the way they trade through the LBMA, they've been totally discredited now with this massive squeeze in silver. And what's going to solve this squeeze in silver? Well, prices. Higher, much higher prices. I guess there will always be some people who will sell out. But I don't think it's at 50. Let's see where we're now. I don't think it's at 51.20 where we're now. It's going to be a lot higher. And I think it's going to totally discredit the LBMA. And there's a saying about lies that usually they come out. And I've looked it up here. One saying is, truth is the daughter of time. And it says, it suggests that secrets and lies will be exposed over time. So I think that's what we're seeing now. And the reason why this lie and this truth have been covered up is because gold and silver are at the heart of controlling or keeping this fiat currency Ponzi scheme alive. And the way they've done it is through the LBMA and the COMEX as well, because the bullion banks that trade on the LBMA, they trade on the COMEX. They do the EFP mechanism as well, which I've spoken about with Eric Young or King Kong. So it's all intertwined. And so I don't think COMEX is any better. So to sum up, what the LBMA and the COMEX are, and I made a video about this, they're just glorified bucket shops. And what are bucket shops? Well, they used to be places where you could bet on the price of stocks in the US. You actually didn't buy the stock, you bet on the price. And Jesse Livermore started his career in the bucket shops because he didn't have a big enough stake to open an account with a bona fide broker. So, yeah, that's how.
Mario concludes with a message that every precious metal investor needs to hear. The LBMA and COMEX aren't markets anymore. They're bucket shops, casinos where traders bet on gold and silver prices, but no one actually owns the metal. It's the same game Jesse Livermore saw a century ago, only now it's global, and leveraged hundreds of times over. When delivery fails at the top, every paper claim beneath it burns. Mario closed his bank account, took the cash, and bought real gold and silver bars directly from Credit Suisse, because he understood the only rule that matters. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. So ask yourself this right now. If your gold or silver is stored somewhere you can't touch it, is it really yours? If delivery breaks tomorrow, will your vault hand you real metal or a digital apology? This isn't financial fear-mongering, it's financial realism. And Mario Innecco's warning is crystal clear. Get physical before the paper burns.
Precarious things are for a monetary system. And I think, as the saying goes, truth is the daughter of time. I think we are at a time where the truth will out. And the LBMA is at the heart of it. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed my story. What happened afterwards with Citibank? Well, I closed the position took some of the money out in cash. Actually, at the time you could still do that quite a bit, and I went to Credit Suisse in Zurich and bought some coins and bars for my mother, and took it home for her. So that's what I did. I guess I learned that you couldn't really trust these bullion banks, and I've been telling friends for years, because some of my friends have dealt with these people, and I told them, if you think you have gold with them, think again. And thankfully, they have heeded my warning, and they started buying the real thing.
If this message opened your eyes, don't scroll away. Hit subscribe and join our growing community that tracks the truth behind gold, silver, and the end of the fiat illusion. Tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next alert when new data breaks. And tell us in the comments, do you hold real metal or just paper claims? Because the next phase of this crisis won't reward the loudest voices. It'll reward the ones holding real wealth when the world's confidence collapses. Stay awake, stay prepared, and remember, if you don't hold it, you don't own it.